breathing, gasping. I am me, still me.
Ooh. Thank you, Liz. The poems, the pieces that we're going to be hearing today are pretty moving, and maybe even a bit more than moving. So just be aware and realize that this is healing through the writing process. We really appreciate your honesty and your candidness, Liz, as you help us share those poems with us. I believe the next person, Asha will introduce, if I've got that right.
Yes. All right. Let me get myself in here. Hopefully you all can see me. And all right, there we go. So Alex P., who is also known as Lemonade Dream, love that title because you can take lemons and make lemonade. That's what I get from the name. So let me know if that's what that means, or let us know if that's what that means for you, because I know that she's an amazing teen poet phenom that has an amazing story and has absolutely is perfecting her craft. I've seen her perform all over, so it's not just Busboys and Poets in Baltimore anymore. She's been all over the place, and by the age of 12, I know she's 14 years old now, she's already created over 60 bodies of work. That in itself is empowering and inspiring, and I am so excited to see what she's going to share with us. So I'm going to spotlight her here so that she can share, and welcome Lemonade Dream.
Can you hear me? Okay. So today I have a piece for you. Today I have a piece for you, and it's all about how I've been able to overcome through the pen, how I've been able to heal through the pen, and what poetry has done for me. Hey, Dad, remember when you turned 47? I watched you turn 47, and you saw me turn 11, but you didn't make it to 12. Sometimes I wish I was still 11, so you and me could still be dad and daughter. You're still here, but with only a spirit, sometimes it only feels like daughter. I wish I never made it to 12, so I'd still be 11. Wish I'd be 11 to keep making memories, so we could keep jamming to Bob Marley. The good old days, I call them. Back before all positivity fell from the column. I've been doubting life. Then you turn 47, lets me survive, and keeps me from the pearly white gates you protect me from my life. But you've always protected me. If you don't protect me, I don't know who can or who will, because Dad, you're my guardian, and Dad, you're my angel. My forever 47-year-old angel, sitting with the halo and perfectly angled to watch me grow and watch me glow. Didn't want to do poetry really, but I do it to see him smile. With that pearly white smile that blends in yet still stands out from the clouds. From your beautiful blue casket to your brown eyes watching me in the sky, soaring through the night, as always, making sure his licks is all right. But I don't want to think about that. Remember when you turned 47? Back to when I was 11 and life was good? Back before the shadow covered me like a black hood. Father, can you blow out your candles on repeat so we can still make our little beats and have a conversation, like speak? But before you turned 47, I had just met 11, and before you could meet 48, you met the great.
Such a powerful piece. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know it's not easy, and I know, can you tell us a little bit about why you write, like what inspires you? I know in your piece you talk about one thing in particular, but what's the benefit, especially at a young age? Do you feel like it gives you an advantage to use your pen to express yourselves? And would you encourage, what would you say to other young people who may not know what you know about healing through your pen?
I know personally through experience, I know different things help different people. I've been through therapy, and it didn't work for me the way when I pick up my pen, just write through my emotions and understand the emotions processed through my head properly. And through poetry, I've built a whole family. I have a whole poetry family who, like the creatives, and where I'm from. And what I say to the people, like, even not just my age, but people that want to understand their emotions, just healthily do what is best for you. And I would recommend poetry, even if it doesn't rhyme, even if it doesn't sound to, it's allowing you to express your emotion. And you just need to truly let your emotions out, because I've noticed a lot of people, they'll just take all those emotions and let them bottle up when you really need to feel those and let them out. So that's how poetry helped me and can help other people.
That is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And that is so real. Hopefully, if there's anyone here, thank you, Lemonade Dream, for sharing your vulnerability and for sharing your pen, because you are absolutely a powerful writer. And this is proof that that the power of writing has no age. It really has no age limit. So this is a perfect segue into our next segment. And I know that earlier Hiram asked the question, like, what happens? What is the Inkwell? You know, a lot of you are here. Some of you may be connected to the organization already. Some of you are looking for how to connect with the organization. So now is time to get educated and actually really understand what the Inkwell actually is from the leader herself. And we are going to pass the microphone to Miss Cayenne, and she's going to share information with us about who the Inkwell is, why they do what they do, and how we can support, why it's important for us to all be here, but also to support this today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Asha and Hiram, for starting our program and also the segue. I would be remiss if I did not give my few 2 cents on the pieces that we've heard thus far from Liz Reitzig, who is, as she stated, a great supporter of the Inkwell, and who constantly challenges me, you know, when I hear her work, to dare share and be more vulnerable, because that's where the healing can come into play. Or maybe I should say dare to even write more vulnerably. Now, sharing is a whole nother level. She does that very well and very boldly. And of course, Lemonade Dream, who I love dearly as well, and have been able to meet when she was around that 12, and then in just 2 years watching such growth. But as her mom pointed out to me just this past December, there's something in her that I can relate to, understanding the power of writing and emoting through my pen, maybe as a result of loss. And that was the wherewithal that I could begin my healing process. So I always appreciate Lemonade Dream as well for her vulnerability and for her light and her fire. She's a firecracker. She's a force to be reckoned with. And before I begin, the presenters were asked to think about some things. And I'm going to ask you guys the same. You can put it in the chat. You don't have to put it in right away. You can think about it. But at some point in the evening, feel free to put your thoughts in the chat. Here's a question for all of us. How do you, if you use your pen to process anything, process good things, process not so good things, process the day, process life, how do you use your pen to process and to emote? And remember, you don't have to be a poet. I have a friend, Kaniki Jakarta, when asked the question, do you write? And she said, yes, I write emails, I write texts, I write posts. We're writing all the time. And some of us use those platforms to express as well. So how do you use your pen or your keyboard, for those who don't write in the journals like I do, to process your life? Think about it and go ahead and put your thoughts in the chat. Okay, so as was mentioned, I'll give you a little bit more information about the Inkwell. The Inkwell, I started the Inkwell in 2019, I believe. I think 2018, technically I applied, but in 2019, we received the affirmation and confirmation that we were an official nonprofit in the District of Columbia. So I'm going to share a brief statement about the premise of the Inkwell, which is part of what our wonderful other honorary member of our board is Ellen Wise put together. So started in 2019, the Inkwell operates under the premise that reflective writing can provide a much needed outlet, that it can assist with emotional restoration, that it can help in managing emotions such as frustration, grief, and loneliness. Creative expression such as poetry, it can raise self-awareness, it can encourage a release or catharsis, and it can help one find their voice. I'm gonna pause there because if you're like me, maybe it took you a while to find your voice, whatever that means for you. Find your lane, find your place where you're in the pocket and you feel so authentically you, and you are that person. Creative expression can help individuals find their voice when it has been silenced or when it has gone unheard. Okay. In all of my preparing today, I forgot to bring something to the area, so I won't go and get it. But one of the things I wanted to share was an excerpt of my story, just a small piece of it, which is by the time I was 12 years old, I call them the pillars of my life. You know, you have your nucleus, your family, whether that's your auntie, whatever your family consisted of, or your mother, your father, and siblings, whatever, however your centered family looked like for you. For me, it was my mother and a brother, right? By the time, and then of course your father. Can't be here without a mother and a father, right? So by the time I was 12, those pillars, mother, father, brother, in some fashion or form were removed, whether through death, whether through didn't want to be bothered with us any longer, or through removal from our home. So at some point I found myself void of all of the pillars that every young person needs, desires as well. And like any person, whether you're a child or an adult who begins to lose people that you love, lose people that you need, you're finding ways or trying to figure out ways to cope. So whether I'm getting in trouble in school, which I was fighting because I was angry. Whether I was, my grades began to drop, I felt hopeless. I became suicidal. I was in a religious home, which was it was healthy in that it was a good, positive environment, but it was also a home where we didn't necessarily do the counseling thing, and we didn't talk about our business outside of the home thing. So where do I go? And then I'm living with a grandmother who lost her daughter. So she's grieving as well. And it was my journal pages where I began to find solace, where I began to have a safe space. I was still hurting. I was still angry. I was still grieving and heavily. I was still feeling like I didn't want to be here, but the journal gave me enough energy, enough space to be able to try again another day. And the Inkwell was started. That was started as a give back. If writing could literally keep me from saying goodbye to the world, if writing could keep me from becoming that statistic and that trajectory that I was going towards, and being the first in my family to attend and complete a 4-year degree, if writing could put me on the path to saying, hey, I want to help others and helping others and getting a degree in social work, if writing could help to do that for me, perhaps it could do it for others. And so therein lies the reasoning for the Inkwell. I am going to share a little bit. I'm sorry, I wanted to talk to you first, but I'll share a little bit here. So our vision is kind of kind of frou-frou and big, but I mean it. We mean it. Saving the world one journal and pen at a time. It was a saving grace for me. It was a place where I could say what I wanted to say and not get popped in the mouth. It was a place where I could say where I wanted to say and then think God was going to strike me down because I was feeling this way. It was a place where I could cry, I could laugh, I could do all those things safely without being judged. So yes, we're trying to save the world one journal and pen at a time. We want to do it this way, facilitating healing, awareness, and self-love through creative and reflective writing programs, journal campaigns, and community outreach. What does that mean? Healing is not just, oh, I have a boo-boo on my arm, put a Band-Aid on it, and now it's scabbed over. Healing also speaks to growth, wholeness, a piece of yourself that was broken, being put back together. It speaks to the awareness. It was the journaling that brought me to a place where maybe I could be more receptive to counseling. You heard our young poet, Alex, say, it wasn't really working for me. The counseling activities wasn't working for me, but writing helps. But in that writing, the aha moments, the awareness, the intuitiveness increases and helps to prepare young people and older people for readiness to get even higher levels of assistance if needed. And self-love. There's so many internal conversations happening. I'm not worth it. I'm not good enough. There's not enough. There we go. That I'm not enough, right? And those are not self-love statements. So writing, not just to process trauma, but also to process how to self-affirm, how to build self up, how to love oneself again. And we do that through writing programs. We give away journals. We educate the community about emotional wellness. Okay? And then here's what we're trying to do. Here's what this fundraiser is all about. We are doing a 5-week series, writing series, where in each session, we're going to be doing creative writing and visual art prompts, but they're guided. They're very intentional. They're not just busy work, right? We're going to be guiding the participants with specific creative writing prompts and art visual prompts that will begin to tap into how to manage and regulate emotion, how to build oneself up through affirmation. What is an affirmation? How to write one, how to speak one to yourself, and building self-confidence as well, because they'll begin to learn not only how to craft them and be in a safe space to do that, but also how to share, and we'll do tips on how to speak in front of people, which is also building confidence. Kind of went into the second bullet here, but they're very much intentional and guided. They're not haphazard. And so these prompts are building on one another. They're culminating into each other, so that at the end of these 5 weeks, the young participants will have created a body of work that we will put together for them, or help them put together, where they can walk away with something in hand. Not just, oh, I wrote this, but also begin to see their own process of growth, healing, awareness, and self-love. And so here's the other thing that I'm so proud about, is that we're going to be giving them custom written journals, made journals for them specifically with their names. And they're going to create their own affirmation deck. And we're going to have them published where they can take those affirmation decks with them and be reminded constantly. This wasn't just a summer activity or a fall activity. This was about self-improvement, and that they'll be empowered with tools, a tool called creative writing, reflective writing, where they too now don't have to go necessarily a different unhealthy route, but they have a new tool in their belt. All right. So we also, of course, have facilitators. I'm one of those facilitators who are seasoned. I have a degree in social work and a degree in psychology. I've been working in the human service field for over 20 years. I've been facilitating workshops of this nature for over 10 years, and they will have some other facilitators as well. So they'll be having access to positive role models and seasoned facilitators with a sensitivity to their needs. All right. So that's what we're trying to do. And this is what this fundraiser is about, to help support this great effort and future efforts, right? So this is a little visual to tell you where we are so far, but guess what? It's not even accurate. I was so happy. I was like, I did this last night to be prepared for today, but it's not accurate because we've had donations since then. But that's our goal, is $1,000, because we're rooting to support at least 6 of our 12 participants, at least 6. We can do more, of course, so that we don't want them to be hampered by cost. We're going to be providing them snacks and materials, and again, their own books and their own affirmation deck, and of course, the facilitators. We don't want them to be burdened with cost if possible. So this will be helpful to, this amount will be able to help, sponsor at least 6 of our participants. Okay, so we're already, we're almost, I think, halfway to our mark. Again, this is not totally accurate. I think we're closer to the 500 mark, if I remember correctly. I have to take a look while the evening goes on. And I want to encourage you to think about how you could be supportive. And finances is not the only way to support, but this is what we're talking about right now. But it's not the only way you can support. You can do so in so many ways, whether donating journals, whether, maybe you say, I'd like to facilitate, or I can provide supplies or things of that nature. We can talk about that, or just say, hey, here's how I can give. This is what we're doing, and we love for you to be a part of that. And if nothing else, please pray for us. Please give us good vibes, and we will receive them joyfully. Any questions? It's a small environment. I'll stop for questions.
Not a question for me, but just a yes, exclamation point for me in terms of that, reaching that goal. And another way people can help is to spread the word about the Inkwell, its good work, and the fact that we're holding this fundraiser, because we'll not be shutting the donation button down immediately after this session. It's going to be open. We've recorded the session. We'll post this session and remind people that they are welcome to donate over the coming days. So please help us spread the word about that.
Yes.
Thanks, Ms. Cayenne. Yeah.
Thank you.
And by the way, several people answered or responded to your question about writing their life process in the chat. So we'll want to save the chat before we disappear here today, so that people have access to that.
Most definitely. I know that we're going to transition, but I'll just read one of our responses. Ellen Gannon says, for me, hearing poetry read aloud is very healing. Gratitude for this opportunity, light and love. Thank you so much, Ellen.
And Ms. Cayenne, Sabrina has her hand raised.
Yes, I see. Thank you, Hiram. You have a question, Sabrina?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I was just curious, so where do your participants come from? Like what area? How do you reach, I guess, your intended audience? Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Great question. And it's a mixture. The Inkwell is based in this District of Columbia. And as you probably may know, District of Columbia, Prince George's County, or Maryland, Virginia, we're like kissing cousins. So we serve that area, quite honestly. And we are actually in the process of applying for Maryland a micro grant, and we will be serving Maryland youth during this particular event at Creative Suitland, which is in Suitland, Maryland. I believe that is Prince George's County as well, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me. Where we'll be serving in that area. I am a teaching artist, so I work with schools through other organizations such as Project Creative Suitland. I've worked with Sister Joy, who's on tonight, and some of her endeavors. Patrick Watson, who's also a literary leader in the Prince George's community, who work with youth. So I've tapped into some of the natural and organic connections that I have, but we also are really wanting to promote in the community at large. I've worked in social work for such a long time that a lot of my heart's passion does lie with youth that may be considered opportunity youth, or youth that may be disenfranchised in some fashion or form. So we often are going into elementary schools as well as middle schools, promoting the Inkwell and saying, hey, we're having a program. If you have children that may be interested, send them our way. Any other questions? That was a great question. All right. I will hand it back over. And, I'm gonna practice my opposite, because, with these screens, you have to do the opposite. So I'm so happy that I got it right. Above me, to the side of me, are various ways you can give and donate.
And we've been posting those in the chat, thanks to Asha. And speaking of Asha, Ms. Cayenne, if you would be willing to or able to make her a co-host, I can't. Apparently that slipped away, and so she needs to be made co-host again. And I could be wrong, but I believe our next spotlit guest is somebody that a lot of folks know, Sister Joy Alford, and I believe, Ms. Cayenne, you were going to introduce her. Do I have that right?
You are absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have the absolute honor to introduce Sister Joy, who I love dearly. I appreciate her dearly. So it's good to have the opportunity to introduce somebody you know and you have personal relationship with. But let me stay close to the script that I formulated and told everyone else. So let me not get too off script here. But we have a wonderful person in the person of Sister Joy, Sister Joy Matthews Alford. She served as the inaugural Poet Laureate of Prince George's County, Maryland, from 2018 until 2023. Just a few days ago, she turned that mantle over to the current Prince George's County Poet Laureate. I believe is Dr. Khadijah
Coleman. Yes.
Sister Joy is a prolific author of 3 collections of poems: Lord, I'm Dancing as Fast as I Can, From Pain to Empowerment, The Fabric of My Being, and This Garden Called Life. Her work extends beyond the pages of these 3 books, including various regional and international poetry anthologies. She is a wonderful board member of the Inkwell. She is a pillar in the community, and she's a voice. She champions poetry. She champions the importance of literacy. She champions youth, but she is herself a champion. So I want to present to us today Sister Joy as she shares in her own way.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Cayenne. And thank you everyone for being here today. What a wonderful opportunity this is for me, but for the community, because this is service at its highest level. I truly appreciate the fact that, first of all, Ms. Cayenne, the visionary that she is, founded the Inkwell, which is a community resource that offers a soft landing space for persons in need based on having experienced loss and grief and pain of varying types and degrees. But those who do not wish to be labeled as victims or even survivors. Let me talk a little bit about this. As one who has experienced several types of instances of trauma and loss, particularly during my early childhood years, I happen to believe that the label victim or survivor, which more accurately describes my journey, even that is too restrictive, because you see, survivor defines my life journey in a manner that still anchors it to those painful and admittedly life-altering ordeals. They do not define me, absolutely not. But of course, you can't give a testimonial without testifying, so allow me to share some of my journey. I was born at a time when interracial marriage was illegal. My parents, who ignored such societal restrictions, constantly felt the wrath of their decision to ignore that law. Accordingly, they experienced much backlash from neighbors and employers and apartment managers, grocers, you name it, once their secret was discovered, because it was that type of life. They were hounded. And these less than well-meaning individuals, Black and white, typical of their generation, were too often more than ready to report my parents to the authorities. This greatly affected the stability of my family. Eventually, life threw a curveball that separated me from my parents. A further setback. This resulted in me becoming a ward of the state, which meant moving from institution to institution, then home to home, all of which continued to erode my self-identity and self-esteem. A further trauma in my early years included my being informed at an early age of 8 that my mother had died. Until receiving news of her death, my most fervent prayer and dream had been of reuniting with her. But now this reality meant that my existence through adolescence would be relegated to living on a rural, isolated farm in a physically, psychologically, and emotionally abusive situation, further conditioning me not to expect much out of life. But at the age 12, I was once again uprooted, this time landing in a Christian home where I began to learn what family really meant. This was a tide-turning Kairos moment in my life. Now, prior to that, the odds of me becoming a confident, competent, self-aware, family-centered, community-engaged, faith-filled, and empowered woman capable of self-actualization and self-expression, who would conceptualize a meaningful and successful life of service, leadership, and love, were slim to none. But God. Now, throughout all the years, I've loved to write. I was always an above average student, and writing came easily to me. It was fun. I could create ideas, could create worlds with words. I was in the 9th grade when Dr. King was assassinated. My English teacher gave the assignment to write about what Dr. King's assassination meant to each of her students. She didn't say write a poem, she just said write about how and what we felt about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s death. I wrote a poem, my first poem. I was such an introvert, such a bookworm, literally, so painfully shy that my classmates charged that I could not have written a poem that started with hate, hate, hate. That's what some teachers teach. Well, even my teacher questioned my authorship of that poem until she spoke with my foster parents, who assured her that the work was mine. The poem, which revealed something inside me that I didn't understand until many years later, was then published in my middle school, then junior high school newspaper. That poem, Now Is the Time, became not only my first poem, but also my first published poem. It would be 20 years before I wrote another poem. 20 years. Yes, it was exactly 20 years later, during a conversation which was literally happening around the country, when people were saying, do you remember what you were doing when Dr. King was assassinated? So that my then colleague, Dr. Frances Yvonne Hicks at the Federal Communications Commission, yes, my writing had paid off for me. Well, my colleague, Dr. Hicks, asked if I remembered what I was doing at the time of Dr. King's assassination. Long story short, I shared the poem and the story, and she insisted that I should share it with my community newspaper. I did. I also wrote an op-ed to provide a bit of background. My community newspaper published my poem, my op-ed, along with a photo of me, and I began receiving calls, not just from neighbors, but area schools asking me to come and speak to students about Dr. King's assassination and to share more of my poetry. More of my poetry. Well, there was no more, but it was then that I began looking at the world through what I call the eyes of poetry. Everything became a poem. Parenthood, jury duty, birthdays, social issues, societal issues. This began to birth in me a voice that has not since been silenced. When I look at the trajectory of my life, it's been my writing that has been the consistent thread throughout. It's given me strength and provided an anchor from childhood to adulthood, through 2 marriages and divorces, through child rearing and discovery of family and faith. My writing has strengthened me and connected me with the world in a way that empowers me even to this day and allows me to empathize with others seeking to survive and thrive despite losses, despite traumas. My writing has helped me to provide a new and much broader view of family, a significant, much needed and revered element in my life. I've connected with and been separated from multiple institutions and families, lost 3 mothers and 3 fathers, most of whom I had emotional connections with, connections that at times surprised me, given the valley-oriented journeys we often traveled. Yes, writing has provided healing and so much more. It's allowed me to see beyond the immediacy of my personal situations. This has made all the difference in my life. Writing has emboldened me to believe that my words matter. And because my words matter, I matter. It's helped me to understand that everybody's words matter and has pushed me to share this significant life lesson wherever I can. So I've become an advocate for poetry, my chosen form of writing, a form of self-expression, my chosen form of self-empowerment, which is available to anyone who chooses to embrace it. Over the years, I've discovered that writing is the bridge between communities, between the powerless and the powerful, and that when we embrace that reality, we comprehend just how much our views and our voice can matter, how much power each of us has. Yes, I'm a literary activist and advocate for poetry as much I am a poet. I've chosen, and yes, dared to pursue paths despite my early years of trauma, loss, and devastating setbacks that said I shouldn't expect much out of life. I've pursued paths that have landed me in positions of opportunity and responsibility. For 17 years, I've hosted and produced my cable television program, Sojourn with Words, which has received 3 national Telly Awards for excellence in cultural programming. For the past 20 years, I've served as president of the Ebenezer AME Church Poetry Ministry. And most recently, as was mentioned, I've served for the past 4.5 years as the inaugural Poet Laureate of Prince George's County, Maryland, a position I never lobbied for, but only sought and fought to ensure that such a position would be established here in Prince George's County, where I've lived all of my adult life. Never did I ever anticipate I would be asked to serve in that prestigious position, but my journey has landed me exactly where I am today. Make no mistake, although I strive for excellence in all that I do, I am totally aware that only through divine orchestration could my unlikely story become a reality. This is true even with the invitation to join the Inkwell, which brings writing, journaling, and self-expression to the fore in ways that I strongly relate to. The Inkwell allows writers and would-be writers to connect with the power of word in their inner circle, in their inner self, providing inner power. I'm a woman of faith, so I have totally embraced the reality that yes, in the beginning was the word. There is power in the tongue, but let me not digress. At the very least, writing encourages those who may feel their voice doesn't matter, doesn't deserve to be heard. Well, I'm here to say the Inkwell awakens that voice in a child who doesn't believe their story matters. It reminds that adults that they too have more inside to give from their heart and their mind if they're just open to the possibility that yesterday is not all there is. And it celebrates the elder whose story will otherwise vanish if they do not write it down or share it with others to honor their life story and keep their legacy alive. I believe the Inkwell offers opportunities for our community to grow stronger through the programs we offer. We celebrate, we teach, we honor through our individual and our shared writings. I was honored to accept the invitation to become an Inkwell board member in 2021. I believe in the mission. I believe in the Inkwell. Today, we invite you to show that you believe in the Inkwell by supporting our cause with your donations. The donate button and the QR code are all listed in the chat. Please be generous with your gifts. You can help us achieve our goals by telling others about the Inkwell, the important work we're doing. Thank you for being with us today, and thank you for your donations that will help heal and strengthen members of our community in ways that are so very much needed. Thank you.
Wow. Yes, I think we want to do this right here, whether you can hear us or not. This chat is on fire with tears and claps and movement for your testimonial, Sister Joy. I cannot thank you enough for so many things, but I cannot thank you enough for sharing your testimony with us today, for igniting our souls with the reminder that there is power in our choices not to be silenced, not to allow our voices to be squelched. You did not allow your voice to be squelched. God did not allow your voice to be silenced. And you to think that, I was stuck on something. I was stuck to think that 20 years gap between the first poem and the next poem, when I know your library of poems are gigantic. So to think that 20 years, there was a 20-year gap. You're such an awesome champion for light, love, for poetry, for justice. Someone put in the chat, and I thought about it, that's an awesome term, a literary activist. You do that, and you do that well. And the Inkwell is very much grateful for your voice and your presence, for your advocacy, your insight, your wealth of knowledge. We are thoroughly appreciative. But what she said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you heard, I hope you kind of ingested that, because she connected the bridge between why the Inkwell for her, like it is for so many people, It's a bridge connector. It's a life changer. There's so many nuggets there. I was taking notes, and she created that bridge as to why it's important for her that the inkwell is existing, that the inkwell is active, that the inkwell is effective, and your assistance today and in the future will be adding to other testimonies like that. That's what I want to say. I'm going to be quiet now, but say thank you again, Sister Joy, for that testimonial.
I think all of us want to thank all the speakers and certainly Sister Joy for these powerful testimonies. In Sister Joy's case, I felt like I was kind of in a house of worship and was being blessed by her remarks. We're going to be lucky enough, I believe, to hear again from Sister Joy as we close out the program here in just a few moments with a closing poem. So stay tuned for that. We have another remarkable speaker coming up now in Dr. Cecilia Martin. Cecilia is a dynamic thought leader with a powerful story of survival, forgiveness, and ultimately hope. She uses her life experience to help motivate others to their highest potential, and in fact is the CEO of what's called TEAM, T-E-E-M leadership. She and her team players travel worldwide to train, equip, empower, and mobilize team to do all of that in terms of new and effective leadership. We'll be posting in the chat some of the ways that you can learn more about Cecilia and her book. She'll be reading some from her book. So we'll turn the mic over to Dr. Cecilia Martin.
Hello. Oh my gosh, I don't want to talk after Sister Joy. We could have just wrapped up everything. So I'm still so moved myself by her story. And I actually would love to hear the inaugural poem from 20 years ago, actually, that started your journey. For me, I'm not a poet. I don't claim to be a poet. I have written a poem or two that may or may not ever see the light of day. But I am a prose writer, so I write books. And this book that I wrote, Incarcerated, Escaping the Prison of Your Mind, is a result of experiences that I had when I was a young child. It's one of a 3-part series. So this book talks about the younger me, the child me. And the second series picks up from military and college years. And then the third one is as a mother and a married individual. But writing for me has been cathartic in so many ways, particularly writing this book because it helped me to sort of champion the voice of the little girl who couldn't speak then or express herself, and talk about the things that was happening to her. It also helps to sort of memorialize those experiences, to acknowledge that they happened, and then also to bring hope to those who may have or may be currently experiencing the same things. So with this particular book, Incarcerated, Escaping the Prison of Your Mind, the basis of it was some of the things I experienced, but also my father. I was raised by teen parents. They were high school sweethearts. They created children in high school. My mom, she was went to prom one weekend and had a shotgun wedding the next, literally in her same prom dress that she cut to make it more of a wedding dress. So, and with that, as the time passed, my father was actually a preacher's kid, but still was not his best self, and ended up incarcerated and in prison. And as a result of his absence, in my mind, I experienced so many things because he wasn't there to protect me. And while he was behind bars in prison, serving a 36-year sentence, I was incarcerated too. So my father went to jail, who I loved dearly at a very young age. And some of his letters that he wrote to me in prison, which ironically helped to heal. Still I was incarcerated for many years emotionally. So the excerpt I'm going to read is from the chapter that's entitled, He Touched Me. At first, I thought I was dreaming, but then I awakened enough to hear the TV still on in the background. I assumed my brother Junior had gone to bed, and Uncle Hunter was about to pick me up and put me in mine. Then Hunter reached for me, again in a way I couldn't ignore. I didn't think much of it at first, but there was something strange and sinister about his actions. I had no point of reference for what was happening or why. So I lay motionless, paralyzed at my core. Thoughts scattered through my brain like a bed of fire ants. I kept my eyes closed and could not make sense of what was happening. What is Uncle Hunter doing? Is something wrong with me? Did I do something? Where is my brother Junior? Please, don't. Dear God. Something took over and I quickly jolted into a faraway place in my mind. I grabbed my guitar, I play it real loud. The strings of the metal will cover the sound. I know where I am, where I will be, and nothing can damage my soul in the sea. My soul is an ocean and I am the waves. My heart is a rock. My mind is a cave. My heart hammered inside my body. My stomach turned and my soul quivered as I continued to play possum. I kept my eyes closed and remained completely silent. At that moment, I became keenly aware that something essential was conspicuously missing from my life. I reflected on the fathers who carried their daughters on their shoulders. A new consciousness deepened in the void that had always been present. I was a product of gross neglect, not from my mother, but from my father. He was supposed to keep me safe in this world. Call it instinct or natural inclination, but I expected my father, a man, to rescue me from being violated by another man. I reflected on the fathers who carried their daughters on their shoulders again. I needed him to protect me and carry me on his shoulders too. I didn't know where my father was, but immediately felt the consequences of his absence. Hunter's heinous acts transmitted a clear signal to my psyche that I was uncovered and without protection. For months on end, instead of being open, free, and full of joy, I was numb and despondent. Suddenly, everything around me was magnified. The world was eerie and dark, and I was held captive in it. I was cloaked in shame and became paranoid and jittery around adults. I didn't want to be around other kids either because the sound of their laughter was offensive and a direct insult to my pain. My entire reason for living was in question, including why God allowed something so sickening to happen to me. The God I heard about on the television was inherently good to all people. And if God was indeed benevolent, then why must I have done something wrong for this to happen to me? Or maybe, was this normal? My private thoughts consumed me and set in motion a pattern of thinking that I could not control. The age of innocence for a child seems short-lived as it is, so to have it cut even shorter for any reason is criminal. The knowledge of good and evil, while inevitable, should not be the norm. There is no sadder scenario than when innocence is stolen from a child. Hearing the secret of what Uncle Hunter had done slowly and steadily hardened my heart. Over time, I became easily irritated and combative. I later turned defiant towards my mom for not knowing what happened to me, bitter for my father for him not being there, and mad at God for my existence. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia. Wow. Pretty amazing. And pretty courageous too, Cecilia, for you to write and share that with us from your heart. I'll turn it over to Asha for introducing our special next guest.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'll say I'm going to do my plug here. It is difficult to put down. And I know even hearing excerpts from Incarcerated can make you feel like, oh, that it's heavy, but it's written so smoothly. And I think that it's exactly what you said. What the book does is it empowers the little girl in the story. And so what's exciting about how this kind of ties to the next artist is, we met Lemonade Dream earlier today. We heard Sister Joy's story about her youth. We've heard Liz talk about empowerment and how she's used these things her entire life as well. And so hopefully you're seeing the theme here that it's not just important for us to get it as adults, right? It's important for us to free the young people inside of us. Sometimes we don't get that experience until we're an adult, but sometimes we can actually learn how to do that as a youth. And so this next artist is actually one of my personal favorite poets and rappers. His name is Donovan Lewis Jr. He goes by Tidal Wave. And he'll tell you a little bit about how he came up with that name, but he's an amazing writer. He also happens to be my nephew. So I am a little bit biased, but I know that by the end of his presentation, you will see he will also be one of your favorite artists. But some of the things that make him very unique is he's the poster child for the word resilience. If you want to know what resilience looks like, Donovan, our Tidal Wave, is it. He has learned that prayer, a pen, and positive attitude can get you through anything in life. He's had the pleasure. So he writes poetry. He also writes short stories. He writes raps, and he actually had the opportunity to write a movie script and star in a film. So the beauty of Donovan's story, our Tidal Wave story and testament, I'm going to practice that until I get it, is that he's actually used his pen to heal in multiple ways since the age of 9. And so I'm excited to pass the mic to him. And so I know that you all will enjoy this presentation as well. So let me find him and spotlight him so that he can get on and share. Welcome, Tidal Wave.
Hey, what's up? So I just want to tell you this. I'm 18 years old, and the piece that I'm gonna do is really heartbreaking to me a little bit. So how did writing change my life? So since I've been writing, my notebook has been my best friend. It has been there for me during the times I've been depressed and sad. Since I was 9, I have been writing. Writing helps me express the emotions I have deep within my soul. It pours me out like a tidal wave. So basically, my notebook gave me hope for. So basically, my notebook gave me hope in times of despair. So this piece I'm going to do. So basically, I say it's my fault because I didn't pray as often as they did that. So my grandma passed, and I was like, oh my God, she saved me through cancer by praying. But I didn't pray for her when she was in care. I thought she was gonna get through it because I went through it. So I didn't pray. I just told myself I didn't have to pray. So let's go. My piece. It's called 2018. Let's go. You never know what I'm facing. My heart is racing and pacing. I don't know if I'll last. My heart's running fast. I'm still stuck in the past. This is all in 2018. I was only 13. My uncle, my grandma, my best friend passed. It's all my fault. If I could have been, we will win. Then back. And we wouldn't be off track, but we need you. We need hope. Now we're falling down slow. Uncle, I love you. Grandma, I wish I could hug you. Best friend, you'll be in my heart until the end. 2018, not as good as it seems. 2018, what the heck do you mean? 2018, I was on 13. 2018, look, 2018. After 2018, I didn't want to be seen. The tears running down my eyes, and to my surprise, I saw Grandma in a casket. Yep, a right basket. I didn't know what to say. My heart turned gray, then rolled away. I ran fast as a flash, and the rest is a blur, and I can't explain with words. Look, 2018, not as good as it seems. 2018, what the heck do you mean? 2018, I was on to dream. 2018, look, 2018. Yep, on a nice someday, the sunshine swept away. My mom came up to say that my uncle had passed away. He beat the hay, but this time forever. I say you're recovered. She said it's not a joke. Then my feelings awoke. Struck down on the ground, couldn't get it up because my feelings were loud. 2018, not as good as it seems. 2018, I was on 13. 2018, what the heck do you mean? 2018. One day, I was at school. Everything was pretty cool until something struck me. Someone said she was opening up the gates. I said, oh shoot, am I too late? I tried to contain the pain it's running through my brain. It's insane. 2018, you came off so mean. 2018, thought we were on the team. 2018, but you cut it dang clean. 2018, let's go. So that was my piece, and I thank Miss Kian because for this opportunity, and yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, 2018 was a rough year, but you brought us back through it, and you worked through those emotions. So thank you for sharing vulnerability. I'm going to ask you the same thing that I asked Lemonade Dream as well. What do you think is important? Why do you think it's important for young people specifically to use their pen to heal? Like, what advantage do you have over other young people because you've learned how to use your pen to heal? Like, what would your alternatives be?
So basically, I'll say it literally helped me during rough times. Like I was gonna do this other one if I had time. I don't think I have the time, but
another time. We're gonna tell people how to follow you so that we'll have a chance to see you perform even more.
Okay. So I've been writing since I was 9. Because I was going through a bad time. I was depressed at those times. Like, I'll always get into trouble. I'll always do bad stuff like that. And writing, it came to me like a healing space for myself. And that came. So it came off like as a
safe space.
Yes, like.
Yeah,
a place I can go, a place that I can relax, like, and how I achieve. And this is why I write now, because it helped me achieve so many things. It helped me achieve my writing goals, it helped me achieve confidence. It helped me achieve like who I am. I love writing music, writing songs, I'll write anything for you, but not an essay, but...
Good job. Well, it shows in your writing, and it shows that you take your writing seriously. And it also shows you put a lot of emotions that a lot of young people, and I'll say even specifically young men, it's not always easy for, some people think that certain things are, boys do this or girls do that, but it is important for us to empower all of our youth and to
Yeah.
really, really create safe spaces for our young people to really know that they can show up as themselves and express themselves. So awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And this has been absolutely amazing. Hiram, are you back?
I'm right here.
Awesome. Okay, so what have you thought of this evening? How are you feeling about?
Pretty amazing. I mean, I think what you've heard explains why, through all these presentations and poems, explains why the work that Ms. Cayenne and her Inkwell team is doing is so critically important and timely and really necessary. So again, realizing that many of you folks have already graciously donated, and we really appreciate that. If you can help us share the word about the Inkwell to a larger community that might also be interested in helping support the cause, that would be great. I believe we want to begin to kind of close things up here by giving Ms. Cayenne an opportunity to have some closing remarks. And then, as mentioned earlier, we will bring everything to a beautiful end by having Sister Joy present a poem. So, Ms. Cayenne, we'll turn the mic over to you. But let me just say how much of a joy it's been to co-host with Asha and her wonderful spirit and smile. It's a beautiful smile. So thank you, Asha.
My pleasure. And before we hand the mic over to Ms. Cayenne, it's been a pleasure to work with you as well, Hiram. It is such an honor. And I know that you all will hear this and probably have heard this from Ms. Cayenne as well. But I definitely want to, on behalf of, Ms. Cayenne and the Inkwell and also the audience, because if you look at the chat, people have enjoyed this evening. It's been an evening where people have felt comfortable. We know that one of the things the Inkwell does phenomenally is creating a safe space. If you feel like today was a safe space, if you felt heard, even if you didn't do a poem today, even if you weren't the artist, drop a 1 in the chat or a heart in the chat if you felt heard, if you felt like something someone said made you feel empowered, made you feel like your story mattered. And we definitely want to thank all of our presenters today. Thank you so much, Liz, for sharing Lemonade Dream. Your resilience is amazing. Thank you so much, Ms. Cayenne, for this vision and for your commitment to this work. Sister Joy, for that amazing presentation. I had goosebumps while you were sharing your story. And the beauty of hearing someone's story is that when someone can tell you their story and you have no idea, because all I see from you is joy. And so that's a testament to how you've perfected this pen thing. I can't even imagine what would have happened if your pen hadn't been empowered. And then to go right in from that to hear part of Dr. Cecilia's story, because like she said, this is a 3-part journey. And I read the first book and I'm like, okay, I'm ready. What happens next? Because it's so empowering. And just to see that there are other ways that we can use our pens, not just poetry. You don't have to be a poet. You can just write the story, write your observations. So thank you so much for that. And then thank you so much, Tidal Wave, for sharing that 2018. Like I said, that piece is, I know it's not an easy piece. It's not an easy piece for me to hear because the grandmother that he's talking about is my mother. But we had such a beautiful conversation yesterday about his process and his journey. So DJ, thank you so much for being vulnerable enough to even share that part of your journey where you explain what it feels like to have the guilt, and that tied right into what Dr. Cecilia said. There are a lot of children walking around feeling the weight of guilt for things that are not their fault, things that they cannot change, things that are not their responsibility to carry. And if places like the Inkwell don't exist, then how will we free them from feeling that guilt, right? And so thank you all for sharing. Thank you, Hiram, for co-hosting. You are amazing and empowering in your own right. And so I absolutely am excited to pass the microphone back to Miss Cayenne to get some updates. But if you have enjoyed this evening, hopefully you all are lighting the chat up so that she can see that this is not that today was not in vain, right? So I'm going to pass the mic to you. Thank you so much for this space.
Woo! Goodness gracious. I'm very good at holding myself together, but you guys are challenging me tonight. But I want to echo what Hiram and Asha have stated and kind of thanking everyone, the presenters, and even those who've taken, again, time out of your schedule to sit down somewhere. If you're like me, my aunt said to me yesterday, no grass grow under your feet. So for some of us, grass don't grow under our feet, so that you found a space to join us. I want to say thank you. My heart is full because I'm going to tell you why it's full. I am such a strong advocate for creative expression and that art is a healing tool. I'm such an advocate for it because I know the impact it has had in my life, the impact it has in my life. I just got back from a writing retreat, and even in that writing retreat with my old self, still had the aha moment, still had the awareness moment, still had the had to do some self-love moment. And it was as a result of writing quietly in my room, broken tears falling, having a therapeutic moment because I was writing something and it triggered something for me to now be healed in a different way. So I'm a strong advocate for it because I know it works for me. And sometimes over the years in trying to relay that to others, I felt they're not understanding what I'm saying. So I'm full tonight because I believe that I have witnessed what I have experienced in my own life, and that hopefully you have witnessed it as well. The power of the pen, healing in the pen. You've heard Liz Wrightsick, who shares so vulnerably, talking about domestic abuse. You've heard Lemonade Dream share so vulnerably from her pen, processing the death of her father. You've heard from Sister Joy, and as Asha said, it's an awesome testament. If all you know is if you know this person, then all you know is, man, she's just awesome sauce. But there's a story that everyone has, and why is writing so important? Why is she a champion? There's a story behind all of us. You've heard from Dr. Cecilia Martin's, her book, Incarcerated, Escaping the Prison of Your Mind, an excerpt of this wonderful story or portion of that story from tragedy to triumph. And she penned it. She lived it, but then she penned it, which is another level of healing. And then dared to put it in a book for us to be healed as well, right? And then you heard from Tidal Wave. And that was probably my icing on the cake, because like she said, he's an example of resilience in a way that, it's just phenomenal. Things he's undergone and championed. I asked Auntie Asha, his aunt, if he'd be willing to share, Donovan, if you're willing to share a link to the movie that you wrote, directed, and starred in. Okay. This is what I'm trying to convey to anyone who's interested in being a part or supporting the Inkwell, is that young people like a Donovan or a Lemonade, or I may not be so young, but a person like me, it was the writing, it was the journal, it was the safe space that changed the trajectory of our lives, and it caused us to be able to encounter, you to be able to encounter the people that you see today. And I just encourage you to, as Hiram said, to share about the Inkwell with your friends and family. Let it sit within you as well. I challenge you to pick up your pen if you haven't done so, or continue with your pen. I understand that the pen, journaling, poetry, writing is not the answer to all things, but I also understand it is a powerful tool. It's a healthy tool. It saved my life. It saved many of our lives. And so I want to say thank you for filling my well tonight or this afternoon. There was a question that was posed earlier. How do you use your pen to heal or to process? And I believe it was Ellen who says, I write to realize my own secrets. Pause. Selah, and think about that. Okay. I write to realize my own secrets, to see them revealed to myself and for others who share these same hopes, fears, loves, and grief and laughter, tears. In short, to share what makes us all human. It's so poetic, so poetic. I want you to feel free to respond to that. And you may not want to share that reasoning publicly, and I get that. But I want to encourage you to think about how you use your pen, or how you can use your pen, or how you can encourage someone else to use their pen to emote.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
So basically, I just posted the movie in the chat. So yeah, there's a link in the chat. My auntie wanted to give them a link to the chat, so I copied it and put it up in there. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I see it. Thank you so much, Donovan. Thank you so much, Tidal Wave, for this link. Ladies and gentlemen, take a moment. I'm going to say the chat, of course. I'm going to remember this time. Say the chat. But definitely take a moment, get that link, and check out the video that Donovan posted. I see notes of gratitude, and I want to say thank you. So, update about this. So this, you see it on our screens. You see it in the chat. How to give. These things you can share. You can share with other people. Say, hey, I went to this thing. People were sharing out of their heart. And it kind of really encouraged me to understand, they're trying to help people use writing to heal, or to better themselves, or to grow. Or so, I mean, $10, $50, $100, can you give? You can share this link with others. Or the code, the link, all that good stuff. The website, I'm sorry, I did not put the website there. My apologies. But just in case time passes, you can put that here as well. Heals.com. There's a hyperlink on the website if you just want to donate at any given time. We're collecting today for this cause of having our writing series with girls in the fall at Creative Suitland in Prince George's County this fall. I believe in October, the Saturdays in October and the first Saturday in November will be our series of writing. And so you've heard about that. We'll be collecting. This is not the last day. You can still collect it. You can still share. And I want to encourage you to consider to do that. But also, in addition to that, if you have any thoughts or desires to assist further, we do things called a journal campaign, where right after school begins, we do a journal drive. Prior to school begin, we do a journal drive, and right after school begins, we pick a school and we distribute journals to our young people with the educational component of how to use this journal and pen in a healthy way. So you can also contribute to causes of that nature. But I just want to again say thank you. Now, you're waiting for the update. And I've been trying to follow this thing with all the comments and all the poetry and all the reading. Oh, Lord, the multitaskability is serious. But I will say, let me make sure I have the right information, because while I'm talking, y'all may have been clicking and stuff. Let me see.
Do we need a drum roll?
Let me see. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I'm doing an estimate here. Oh, okay, got it. Oh. See, I told you while I was talking, more stuff was happening. Yeah, we may need a moment. So
that sounds like a good
Yeah, that's a good How about this?
Okay.
Give me how about this? I apologize. Because I don't apologize. I'm happy for this because it was just 5 minutes later. So I'm going to go back to my screen. So I got to do some more clicking on the calculator just to give you an estimate update. I think it's a good one. But in the meantime, what I would love to do, because I did ask them to do this, but we kind of changed the program around a bit. One of my dear friends, and he's also one of the hosts, both of them are hosts and dear friends of mine, are Hiram and Asha. They were initially asked to share a poem. So if you have a short poem that you can share while I'm calculating. That'd be great. And then we're going to come back with the update. And then Sister Joy is going to end out our program. Okay? Is that okay?
Thank
That's
you.
excellent. Hiram,
Thank you, Ms.
wanna-
And I don't really have a poem, and certainly don't have one near as powerful as the ones we've heard today, or an account. I don't know, Asha, do you have one? Or if you
I
do,
do have a piece. Yeah, just in case. I pulled something just in case we needed a filler. So
I was
Wonderful.
gonna say I have Do the Right Thing book or something. I think Howard, one of your poems is in there. If you want me to grab it off
That's
the
okay.
shelf.
Let's, let's listen to Asha. I'm really interested in wondering about her work. So please, Asha, yeah.
okay, well, thank you. I will do. I'll do an abbreviation of this piece, but this piece is called "Stay," and it tells a little bit of my story. So, the thing I'm most grateful for is failure. Failing to attempt to take my life because the F word was worse than cussing. Was never an option, and pressure to succeed is exhausting. Whether it's external or internal, it's tiring, and I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Broken hearts leave rough edges, and disappointments leave holes, and sometimes it's easy to feel alone and left to my own thoughts, like the one time when I woke up in the hospital with charcoal pumped down my throat. Me, a National Honor Society inductee, preacher's kid, two-parent family, above the poverty line, track star, superstar, class clown. I mean, what could possibly be wrong with me? We owned our suburban home, went on vacation regularly. I was a Black girl winning, so you thought. But I just didn't fit into the shoes that were too big for me to fill, yet into the purpose that God had waiting for me. Yet, and now it's hard for me to bob and weave when the mental and emotional cylinders aren't always firing properly. See, I didn't want to die. Not really, I don't think. I just wanted to hit reset or maybe pause. I couldn't find a way to say I was tired of overachieving, and I cracked during finals week. My 15-year-old self told my journal, who told me that I didn't want to die. I didn't know how to live anymore. I just needed a break. So I took some pills or a bottle or 2 bottles, and without thinking about what that could do, I thank God for the failure because I needed to be here, and so do you. So every season has a purpose, and you have one too. I keep 800-273-8255 saved in my phone, listed amongst my friends, so I'm never alone. The hotline stays close to me. So if I will ask you this, are you okay? And wait for a response. Drop it in the chat. Are you okay? So someone hears you today. In this moment, I will be the one to say, I see you. I hear you, and you matter, because sometimes a broken heart can't hear over the chatter or through deafening silence. So I'll scream into the darkness, stay. I say I love you often, and I mean it. There are at least 7 different types of love, so choose one and focus on it each day of the week. In case no one has told you today, I love you, and you matter. So please, please, stay. That's
Ooh.
Thank you, Asha.
Wow. Oh my.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Asha. Yes, please stay. Please stay. Please stay. I'm gonna say it again and again, just because. Please stay. So you may hear my voice or hear Asha's voice, and the times where you don't feel like staying, maybe you'll hear this little, please stay. Please stay. Thank you so much for sharing that. Listen, I got an update for you, okay? I got an update for you. I'm so excited.
Can you hear the drum roll?
Yes, we can hear it.
Okay.
We can hear it. We are just shy of our goal. We have reached right up at $860.33. I love the 33 cents. I'm not sure why we got 33 cents, but we got 33 cents. So we are just shy of that. Listen, this is awesome sauce because of your generosity, because of your generosity and your heart, young girls, young children, young minds will be able to have the same and begin to tap into the same powerfulness that you've heard today and have a safe space. I mean, at the end of the day, we just want and need a safe space. And so because of your generosity, this is what's going to be happening. And again, the link is live. It will remain live. And you can continue to share this link. Because my understanding is probably before the day is out, this goal will be reached. That's what I'm pretty confident about. This goal will be reached before the day is out. And of course, we won't deny anything over as well. And I want to thank you, each and every one of you, because you've been so generous with your time and with your money and with your love, with your gifts and with your voice. All right. So with that stated, I think we've done thank folks and gave an update. So I think it's time to share this stage, this virtual stage, one more time with, that's my dog Brody, he wanted to say hey, with Sister Joy as our ending poem. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Cayenne, and thank you. Oh my gosh, what a fabulous village we are. What a fabulous tribe we are. I'm honored. I'm absolutely thrilled to have been invited. Ms. Cayenne, thank you for your vision, and thank you. I know that remaining $39.67 is going to be coming probably before we close out. But this poem, which is the first poem that I ever penned, I think it was, I'm not sure if it was Miss Asha, I can't remember who said that they wanted to hear the poem. So this is that poem that started it all, and written as a result of Dr. King's assassination. I was not quite 14 at the time, but it is the poem of an adolescent who had never written a poem before. And I was reflecting on what I saw in the world when Dr. King was assassinated. Now is the time. Hate, 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 that's what some people preach. Hate, 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 that's what some teachers teach. On the streets, in the schools, even in our homes, the children get so angered, the streets they start to roam. Broken windows, burnt down stores, people with soul brother written on their doors, people in trouble, people in strife, people who never stole a thing in their life go out and rob, loot and burn, taking things they know they should earn. And the saddest part is, I, as a girl, am not doing much to help this world. But what can I do? Where can I go? How can I help with the little I know? Surely the brilliant professors and the geniuses so smart can easily find the best place to start. And yet, maybe this is the wrong way to face the problems of our country, the problems of our race. For the troubles of today will not simply go away. And when I look at this world of mine, I know there must be a change. And now is the time.
Dang! That's good.
14 years old. 14.
Oh my gosh.
13 or 14. I think it was before the birthday that I wrote it.
Yeah, you were destined to write. Destined and called to write. That don't sound like no adolescent, but the times called for that voice.
Yes, because I was truly reflecting on, Washington, D.C. was a military state. We had soldiers in fatigues wearing, carrying guns on their shoulders. Yeah. And I was on a bus that was tear gassed, and I witnessed an elderly white man being beat off the bus, and I was traumatized even by that. So it was tumultuous times.
Yeah.
And we all were affected by it, children as well as adults.
Exactly. Wow. Thank you, Sister Joy. Very apropos. And we were blessed to be able to hear the inaugural poem of the literary art activist. And it did not disappoint. not disappoint. I want to say this before we go because I failed to do it earlier. Please forgive me. It was a miss of the mind, but not of the heart, which is we have board members of the Inkwell, Hiram LaRue, who, as you saw, was one of our hosts today. We have Sister Joy as one of our presenters, was also a board member. We also have Laura DeFranco, who is on the line, who is also a board member and a contributor to the cause for quite some time, even prior to her being a board member. And then we also have a former board member. She just pivoted just very shortly ago, but Dr. Cecilia Martin's also one of the founding board members of the Inkwell, and just wanted to make sure that I highlighted our board members. And also we have honorary board members, advisory board member Ellen Wise, who is a powerhouse. I'm gonna hand these reins over to one of these days in May. I don't know. But she's a powerhouse and she's a part of our team. And Asha Watson, who's declared herself an honorary board member, but it's not going to be no declaration. We're going to make that happen too. Is also part of our leadership team. And so I stand here, Ms. Cayenne, and I'm the big picture on your screen, but quite honestly, I'm a part of a team. I'm a part of a tribe. You all are a part of this tribe now because you done came in the house, you done came in the room. So now you're a part of this tribe. So I wanted to make sure I said a thank you to each and every one of you, as well as our board members. If all hearts and minds are clear, I know mine is clear and full. The link is in the chat. Of course, you see it here. If you need a few more seconds to jot it down, you will receive an email from me, from the Inkwell, sorry, not from me, but from the Inkwell, thanking you for your time as well. And I'll make sure to have that included in that follow-up email. Did I miss anything, guys? Asha, Hiram?
I've saved the chat, so we'll have that as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I've saved it as well. Yes.
Awesome. Good. All right.
Thanks to everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Enjoy your Saturday afternoon. Until next time, take care.